This episode of the Shop Stool podcast is supported by the Victorian Woodworkers Association, a not-for-profit, volunteer-run organisation. They are Victoria's leading woodcraft guild and aim to advance fine woodworking, foster career growth, and build connections within the craft. We'll hear a bit more about what the VWA have on this month later in the episode. To find out more, head to vwa.org.au or at Vic Woodworkers on Instagram and Facebook. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Shop Stool podcast. This is season 8, episode 9. I hope you've all had a good week so far. A little bit of housekeeping. I believe last week's podcast episode didn't get up onto YouTube in time, and we had a very sad and upset viewer. I do apologize about that. As soon as this episode is finished, I'm going to go fix that. So by the time you're hearing this, that'll all be taken care of. Otherwise, how are you guys going?
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Feels like the back of winter has been broken and we're getting into springtime. It's great.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, before the show, Bryan was talking about a very interesting potential job that's coming up.
Oh, it's actually it's underway. It's nearly finished, actually. So it's very different to what I would usually do. Like, it would be the kind of job that if I, 5 years ago, if I had had a client approach me about doing it, I would have been like, I don't know about that. But just the way it fit into my schedule around teaching, around studying, around parenting, I was like, and I personally knew the client. So he's one of the dads of my son's friend, and he's a pretty interesting bloke. So he's a builder. He's building an off-grid house in a forest in behind Ballarat. Clear-felled this site to make room for the house by himself. Has slabbed the trees that came down, which are a mixture of.
When you say by himself,
thick ash,
you mean so just out there with a chainsaw?
I mean out there with heavy machinery and a chainsaw. Yeah,
by himself. Yeah. My goodness,
by himself, working through Ballarat's winters as well. I think it's taken him 3 years, but he'll sort of work on the house and then he'll go and work on client projects, building houses, and then come back and sort of dedicate 2 months here on the house. All this kind of it's insane.
What's he doing, like in terms of drying timber, or is he working green and letting it dry?
So he slabbed it with a mill.
Yeah.
He then built a solar kiln. So he's got a solar kiln and had been drying this timber for nearly 2 years. And yeah, he said, would you be interested in helping me build a staircase? So it's basically just stair treads and landings and things like that, but from rough sawn timber.
Yeah.
And the holistic thing, like we keep talking about this, the nature of the native logging ban and what that's going to mean in Australia, and how I have been somewhat oppositional to it. I understand the ecological effects and the fact that we've got to take better care of our forests. But we have to, if you're still going to use timber in houses, that timber has to come from somewhere. And I have never been approached about doing a project like this where, you would, like, I've salvaged trees before, I've done hydrowood projects before, but to actually deal with the person who has cut the trees, who is the client for the trees, and the trees are ending up back in the house that was in the location where the trees came from, is just really cool thing. Like,
you're
it's
basically working with the Lorax.
Yeah. So it's been the timber's actually been pretty good quality, and the level of checking in it wouldn't be that different to what I would have seen from kiln dried timber. So he's obviously done a really good job of building the solar kiln and achieving a pretty even temperature year round, which in Ballarat is obviously a real challenge.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool. He's done all the kitchen, everything, all the wall lining, built-in furniture, all that stuff, all out of the trees.
So he's almost finished then.
He is pretty. I think he's looking to be in by the start of summer, I think. But yeah, the house is locked up, it's wired. It's literally just the finishing steps now. So, literally the finishing steps.
Literally, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Has he talked about the red tape perspective? I assume he's an owner builder.
He's an owner builder. I haven't got in too much to the legalities of it. I would assume that the structural timbers for it have been purchased. I don't think they're, it's basically so the stud work is just treated pine, high pressure, but whatever, it's pine. The structural timbers, I'm pretty sure all F17 timbers, but it's all of the lining, all the joinery, all that kind of stuff. So there's no red tape around that. But yeah, he's done an awesome job. I could not imagine the scale of that job as a one-man band. So it kind of feels good to be stepping in and help him get over the line at the end of it. Yeah, but it's a big departure. Go ahead.
A fairly straightforward set of stairs, but just pretty different for you.
Yeah, it's got a winder, so there's a few funky little angles and things like that we're going to trim to fit on site. Yep. But yeah, it's been straightforward. It's just been a lot of timber to mill.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, are you milling this, or are you keeping it presumably rough to match the rest of the house?
Nah, this is going to be because it's a stair. You don't really want it to be too rough, because
you don't like splinters on the way up from the way up from the first floor. Yeah, fair enough.
Nah. So there's elements of the house where he's got these amazing redwood doors that he had purchased from somebody. There was a good story behind it. Somebody was getting divorced, and they were selling the house, but they knew how much the doors were worth, so they sold the doors separately and didn't tell the partner. All this kind of cool stuff. So he's got these beautiful, fine redwood doors, and then he's got some blackwood that he's built into it that, again, is quite fine-grained. The kitchen lining is sort of a little bit rougher, with gum veins and things in it. So there are elements in the house. It sounds like it would be a patchwork, but there's just something about it, and the way in which he's not a designer. Like, this is the first thing he's ever designed and built by himself. He's done an amazing job, to get it feeling like a cohesive project.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
it doesn't feel too oppressive with just all timber.
No, it's got big openings, big double glazed openings looking out to a forest. It's the right level of, you can imagine being quite a cozy sort of cottagey feel in winter with a fire going, but no, it doesn't feel oppressive at all. The timbers, a lot of them are blonde timbers, so it doesn't feel dark.
I had a client who I worked with recently he's got quite a low slung house. It's quite sprawling, and the walls are they're a brick. You've probably seen it before, but you don't see it very much anymore. It's that like chocolatey red colored brick. That's the walls. Yep. Wow. The floors are flagstone. And each one of these in itself is quite a beautiful thing, but it's that dark flagstone. And he's got all this. This is a guy who I did the teak cabinets for. Right. All of his timber is dark timber. You walk into his kitchen and it's Tasmanian myrtle. Beautiful timber, but a dark timber. And you just... it's so much, and it's so dark. There isn't an ounce of white anywhere. And for me, that's just too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't mind there not being white, but I know what you're talking about. Like, when it's dark on dark on dark, it can be quite a heavy, But no, he's got a really nice balance to it. So.
Well, that's awesome. Well, that's cool.
It would be cool, actually. I would actually consider purchasing timber from him as well. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be this good quality, but to make, maybe not client furniture with, but to make furniture for my own place out of timber that has come from 3 kilometers behind me. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
You've got a decent whack of land, Brian?
8 acres.
You've got 8 acres. So have you got fellable trees that potentially you
There would be, yeah.
So yeah,
there would be. There's a lot of stringy bark and
cut something down and throw it, and you put it in his kiln, and maybe have your own sauce a little bit.
I could, yeah. At the minute, I've basically just been dealing with storm felled timber, so it's it's either been rotten or it's basically ended up as firewood, most of it. I've done some green woodworking out of it, but there are a few trees that are bigger. I'm just loath to cut them down because I like having a forest on my place.
That's what I meant as well. Yeah. I have the same problem.
What timber have you got in your place?
It's mostly just macrocarpa.
Macrocarpa,
the big old trees, and it's like, okay, awesome old tree, looks nice, but also awesome old tree full of good wood.
But macrocarp is not that. That's the
It's
macrocarp
a
is
cypress.
cypress, yeah, which
Yeah.
is it's super light. A buddy of
Yeah.
mine in Tassie's actually sent me a picture the other day of a Facebook listing of a slab,
Yeah.
3.7 long, 900 wide,
Yeah.
50 mil thick for $500,
Yeah, nice.
which is mega
it's
cheap.
really-
but it's
really
in terms
popular
of
in New
density, it's
Zealand,
like
isn't it,
half
for-
of what's it, a Tassie oak. It's like half the density of Tassie oak.
Yeah, it's
I
just
didn't
a
realize it
step
was
up
so
from
soft.
pine. Yeah.
But Joey,
really
it's pretty
close.
popular in New Zealand for outdoor furniture, right?
It is, and I don't know why, because it's not actually rated for outside very well
is
at
it
all.
not?
It will.
Right.
There was a crowd selling it as decking for a while, and like the decks fell apart in like 6 months. And so furniture kind of it lasts a bit better, but they also sell
Yeah.
it for like in big sleepers for garden beds and stuff. And again,
Yep.
it's
Just
not going to
rots
last
through.
that long. Touching the mud, it's not going to last great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not stupendous. I personally don't really like it as furniture, but it's a, if you have some, it's kind of a few cube of free wood, but it's also it's so much work to get a tree down and get it into usable pieces. It's crazy.
Yeah. What I was saying, that like when you're thinking about a less premium timber, like a pine and things like that for furniture, my attitudes shifted pretty dramatically a few years ago, and I'm like, you can do really good work with cheaper timber. And you look at Alex Pontonio's chair that she did for the Robin Boyd Foundation. So I think it was Wall Street House in Melbourne. There was a pine outside that needed to come down, so they commissioned
Right.
her to make a chair out of it, and it's beautiful, and it's modern, and it's fine lined and stuff. But it's made from a timber that you wouldn't see bespoke furniture made from a lot. So I think there are cool things that you can do with it. It's really just it just becomes a material for building with.
And there's also the sentimental perspective as well. Like this display cabinet that I'm building is from a tree that fell down 2 years ago in Townsville. So when I get to deliver it, it's probably not the wood that you would choose, but it's got that sentimental value. It gives the client a story. So even if it was just pine, you get to add that on top of it.
This might be a good time to talk about that, Robin, because I was thinking about, I was watching a couple of your posts, and you were talking about how the timber was not behaving entirely well. It was moving around a bit. And then I remembered you saying that it was timber that you had milled and dried and stuff. So I wondered, did the client not have a preference, and you were just like, sweet, I can sell you the wood I had? Or did you say we should use this, or how did that happen?
It was a bit of planets aligning.
Right.
The client wanted something to match the existing timber in his pool room.
Right.
And it's all that golden pine from the 90s.
Right.
And this African mahogany is similar. It's not the same. It's got a bit more of a red tone, but I said to him I can put a light stain on it and it'll get it close. So yeah, it just all, as I say, planets aligned. I got to use timber that I've milled, which I've found is actually quite difficult. I dry a lot of my timber, but to get to use it in a project is actually very tricky because I don't have a large supply. It's often not going to be beautiful straight grain stuff that like a Vic Ash. But this particular project it worked for, and as I say, then I get to tell them that this is Townsville trees. So there's that closing the loop aspect of it.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, but it's not playing ball. Hey, listening to you talk about, Joey, when you said dropping the tree and all the work that it goes into drying it, and then it just decides that it doesn't want to dry well, which is what this timber did. And it was
How many years had you been air drying for, Robin? A couple, did you say?
So this stuff's African mahogany is quite light, so I think it was 18 months. But because of where I live, timber dries quite quickly because it's essentially drying all year round, even in winter. But I've never seen a tree do this. We've got it milled out perfectly, stickered, flat, and in 6 months, it just went everywhere. It just bananaed like you couldn't, like there was not a single straight piece of timber in this. And, going back to the macro carpet, Joey, imagine, and then you've just destroyed that tree.
Yeah.
I was lucky in this that I could slowly mill it down and acclimate it to the shop so that, I sort of milled past the bends and the warps.
Yeah.
I'm still a bit nervous about come middle of summer, what's going to happen to this thing when all the moisture comes back in our tropical environments. Oh boy, I'm crossing fingers. But yeah, like if it just seems like this timber is now, which I've now learned halfway through the project, this timber is just notorious for moving. Sometimes you'll get a tree where it's perfect. Sometimes you'll get a tree where it just hates life.
It sounds a bit like it's more of a stress problem than a moisture problem. Like it sounds like, because if it's really,
I was going to say, is it crown cut or is it straight, straight grained? Because it could just be the actual. It's not necessarily moisture in the timber, but it's the structure within.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. It is. So okay. I've got 3 different African mahogany trees outside. One of them turned into potato chips. The others are fine. So I think it's to do with how quickly it grows, because it's a very fast growing tree. So you're losing any sense of stability right off the rip. Also, because of the way they grow, they often have a lot of weight on their branches. So that trunk is in constant tension and what's the other one? Compression. As it's being pulled to the side. So just from the, whereas you think you were saying, Brian, stringy barks, that's basically a needle to the sky. If I'm getting stringy barks, is that the
pretty much? They got big branches. Like a lot of the trees around here, they nickname them widow makers because the branches fall off.
Right. Yeah.
But
maybe I'm thinking of
they fall off as opposed to bringing the tree down with them. It's like nearly a self-defense mechanism for the tree, not for us.
Yeah.
But.
Whereas, African mahoganies, I think, are just like this. So get an African mahogany, beautiful slab. Like the top of this is going to be made out of some nice chunky, pieces just put into a slab. That's fine. But any sort of straight grain, like making the doors, I've literally been pinching for the last 2 months for these rail-in style doors. Luckily, I managed to find 6 pieces that were straight and flat, and they've stayed flat. But it's a bit stressful.
Yeah. So I messaged you guys briefly the other week about spotted gum, because
yes, yeah. How'd you go with that?
So this ties in well with the conversation. So this client came to me, wanted a gigantic bookcase. It's like 5 meters by 2.7 tall. And he wants all solid timber. And he was like, everyone else's quotes have been crazy, not even going to do the project anymore. Could you even look at it? And then he said, I want to supply the timber. So I was like, okay. He said, I've got this supply of spotted gum and it's dressed and it's 25 mil thick. And I was like, okay. If it's dressed, great. It must be pretty good. So he came with this giant trailer and it turns out it was decking. And
when you said 25 mil, that instantly it's like, boop, boop.
I didn't even go there. Like, it didn't even think about it being like, because I've never actually seen 25 mil thick decking. It's like 20.
Yeah,
or
they do.
32.
They sometimes do it.
Right.
Here it's either 19 or 25 would be the usual for spotted gum decking. But
it makes sense.
So he's wanting to use this for window frames.
No, a whole big bookcase.
A bookcase. Sorry, you
bookcase.
broke up.
Yeah. And so I was like, shit, okay. When I saw it all packed up, and I was like, this is decking, and all the corners are rounded over. So I said, well, straight away, I'm going to have to rip every side of every board. So there's more time and effort. And then we started unloading the trailer, and it was so heavy and cold. And I was like, shit, is this stuff wet? Like, or was it just really heavy? And it was a cold day, so I went and got a moisture meter, and it's on the higher end somewhere about 11 to 12%. So I did some research, and that is right where they want spotted gum to be for decking. It's about a year of air drying, and that's how they sell it. And so I was like, okay, so it's perfectly good for what they sold it as, but really I'd want it a bit drier, probably more like 8% for like inside stuff. Anyway, he agreed that we had the timber, let's do it. So I've started gluing this stuff up, and it's interesting to work with. It's heavy as shit, and I've got like 260 linear meters of the stuff to glue together into panels before I can even start making anything. So it's just a lot of docking and gluing, and yeah.
Is it staying quite straight? Because I would imagine it would. Spotted gum is
staying dead straight, and I've had to cut a couple of boards right down the middle, and it's pretty well just stayed bang on. So I'm happy about that. And it had lots of water stains from being stickered and dried. And so I said, I'm going to have to machine a mill off each side of this just to make it look any good. And it worked out so I can just fit it through my planer as like a 360 mil wide shelf. Nice. And I can just take a mill off it without bogging down the machine, because it is just so hard, you know. Yeah. But it just leaves a perfect finish. I don't even need to hit it with sandpaper.
That was going to be my next, because I think I mentioned to you one of the reasons I got my drum sander.
Right.
It wasn't for spotted gum, but it was for Moreton Bay ash, which is a similar density. It's that same interlock grain. And I just gave up with my thicknesser at the time because it just looked like a mess every time it came out.
Yeah. But it's just a beautiful finish off the thicknesser. It's just a lot of hard work. I haven't done a solid bookcase that size for a long time, and I remember how much gluing up there is to do. And it's although it doesn't take the PVA very well. Like I think you guys mentioned, gluing can be tricky. And I did the first few glue ups with just yellow glue, and it glued it, but I dropped a few of my offcuts, and they just broke apart into the three pieces. Like,
yeah, right.
It didn't actually stick great. So there's a couple of panels which are finished but glued together with the yellow glue, and now I've been using the polyurethane glue, and it's perfect for it. It seems to work well. Yeah. So
I reckon a poly glue or wipe with acetone or something like that, you'll be fine. I haven't had any issues with it delaminating ever. I've never used 11% stuff, but I don't know, it should be all right, like with polyurethane glue.
Yeah. Well, the moisture only helps polyurethane to cure. It's the and so it just is going to give it a stronger bond. So should be good.
Our guest from last week, Dave, I'm sure I saw a video of him making a small pan. Now he does handwork, so he's doing very small pieces, not an entire bookcase. But I'm sure he's got a video where he's laminating 2 panels, and it was you could see it was some sort of messmate kind of timber, and he cleaned the glue join with some chemical before gluing it together, which, we've talked about in the past. That's something you do with something like teak.
Yeah.
But, maybe there are more timbers where you should be doing that.
Well, I mean, this stuff really seems more waxy and oily than I've experienced with teak. So it's a new one for me. I've never worked with it before. And again, my ignorance was, okay, I've got these few panels finished. So I wanted to oil them and kind of stack them out of the way so I had more room for working. And so I threw some Osmo on some panels overnight, come in, and in the morning it practically was like I just put it on. Like it was just still wet. And
interesting.
So I do some little digging around, and spotted gum's no good for straight Osmo. You've got to put some other special stuff on it first, or use a different product system. So I'm waiting on that.
I've used it on spotted gum before without any major issues.
Well, yeah. You lucky bastards.
Definitely spotted gum we're talking about, yeah.
I've got say 6 big panels. I've wiped off with terps and just kept wiping it off until it stops being sticky. And then I've got a couple of products. There's a product, I forget what it's called, some really thin Osmo product, which they recommend as a primer for spotted gum oily timbers. But then also they're sending me out some of what they call their smart finish, which is their UV cured stuff. And that
fancy.
they said will cure on it just fine. But there's a bit of a learning curve to making it work. So my plan is to use that because I've got ultraviolet lights now for a whole other process to do with skateboards. And so hopefully I can cure.
I was going to say that sounded like there was something our legal team might have to edit out. Your blue light collection. So that's cool. You've already got the lights, so it becomes
So the lights I've got are the right wavelength, but they said to me, and I don't quite understand. I'm not a tech wizard. But they said you might have the right wavelength, but it might not have the right power output to actually cure the product. And that doesn't really make sense to me because light is light. And if you're putting it out at the right wavelength, it should still be hitting the product and curing it. So I'm not sure exactly what they mean, but
if you increase intensity, if you increase intensity of light, does it change the wavelength?
Yeah,
like
I don't know.
Power output.
Well, that's what I wonder.
Well, I'm trying to think back to year 12 physics.
Yeah, like light is light, and if it's at a specific wavelength. So the reason I know that these lights should work is because I had lots of problems. I don't know if I should even take us on this whole other tangent here, but I've done this huge deep dive of learning how screen printing works and trying to get a piece of artwork onto a silk screen so I can then screen print skateboards. And it's a massive learning thing, and I think I have understood it, and I just last night managed to get it to work. So essentially you have a UV cured say paint, it's called emulsion, and you put a stencil of your artwork on top of this emulsion, which is on the silk screen, and the UV light cures this emulsion paint only where it can touch it. And so you have your design on it, and the light can't get where the design is. So after a few minutes, when the emulsion is cured with the UV, you go and wash it out, and your artwork is washed through the screen, and then you have this perfect stencil of your artwork. And so that light I've got works to cure that stuff. So I'm hoping it's going to work on the Osmo as well.
Yeah, because that's you see generally they've got that little handheld unit.
Yes.
So if you could just flip a switch and your whole workshop turns into a tanning salon and it just cures it like that, that'd be awesome.
There is a certain there is a I don't know what the word is, some kind of ratio between how close your light is to the surface does make a difference. And so as to what you were saying, Brian, there is an intensity thing happening where the closer your light, the less time it needs to cure the UV product. And so I've seen this guy on YouTube, and he installed LED lights up, UV lights on his ceiling. And so he would just flick the switch and everything's going to cure. And it might well cure, but it's going to take way longer than if you just hold the light close to your piece and finish it in a few seconds rather than minutes or hours. So there is something to do with the intensity of the light, I guess, being closer to the product. So we'll find out.
You need like one of those old clothes pulley things for a laundry. Just wind the ceiling down.
Interestingly, I mean, I never really thought about it, but the guy at Osmo said to me, you have to take a lot more care and time finishing, like you've got to essentially buff the product dry so it looks as good as you could want it, and then you hit it with the light and it just like cures it in place, and which makes complete sense. But it means you do have to spend more time than you normally would on a panel compared to regular Osmo where you roll it on, wipe it off, next panel.
There's no flowing into itself.
Yeah, you've got to make it finish. Any lumps and bumps is just going to be cured in a lump and a bump, and so then you're stuck. So you have to really pay more attention, I think, to getting it to look right before you hit it with a light. So,
and because of the nature of what you're experiencing with spotted gum, the way it's presumably not soaking into the timber as much as you would want it.
Yeah.
Is there not a concern that this stuff will just peel off because it's not actually adhering to the timber like it needs to?
I don't know. Don't put questions into my mind. I have no idea.
We're going to find out soon enough.
What they said, the Osmo guys said to me, you have to put this UV oil on way, way, way thinner than you ever would put any Osmo product on. He said, like, just way less than you think, just so it barely looks wet. And it goes way further than normal. So I suspect that the thickness of the actual finish itself must be minute compared to a regular, wiped on, much more wet oil finish.
Do you still
Blacktail
sand it to the
Studios.
same grit, Joey?
No, well, I did, and then I read after the fact that you shouldn't, apparently, with those hardwood spotted gum, apparently no more than 150. And I sanded everything with 180 up to that point, and it felt bloody awesome. It felt like glass, but that's the problem, I suppose, that apparently because it closes the pores over and stops the oil soaking in, which makes sense on one hand, but on the other hand, it doesn't. Like, why can I do that with oak and not spotted gum? I don't
Just
know.
the density of the timber?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember Bryan once saying to me, don't even worry about putting on polyurethane on, like a hardwood. Just oil it. And I remember at the time thinking, but that's not going to work. But then when you get something like a spotted gum and you do sand it up to 180, it feels like it almost feels like a resin, when it's infused off, resin stabilized timber, because it's so dense.
Yeah.
So you just need that oil to soak in a little bit, and you're done. You don't even need the film finish.
Yeah, it's just to make it
Just
look
depends
pretty.
on it just depends on where you're going to use it,
In this case, I'm pretty lucky because it's a bookcase. I mean, essentially, no one's ever going to touch it. They're going to see the front vertical rails, and that's about it. So it just has to kind of look mostly similar, It's not. So anyway, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I think it's Blacktail Woodworks.
Yeah,
The guy who I've been accused of copying with my shaved head and black shirt. He does a lot of that stuff, UV finishing. He might have a video on how
I've been looking at it for a long time and haven't been able to find anyone willing to sell it in any like smaller usable quantity. Like, there are companies here that outsource it, so you send your stuff to them and then they UV it through some big conveyor belt system, which doesn't really suit most woodworkers. But so Osmo are now they've only had it a short time, and they're just kind of giving it to select people, so he said. And I just kind of said, I'm one of those people. Give me the stuff. I want to try. So hopefully it works out.
Yeah, cool.
Hi, I'm Wanda Gillespie, an artist in residence at the Victorian Woodworkers Association. I'm a sculptor, carver and teacher, and I'm here to tell you what the VWA has on this month. Firstly, our comprehensive and affordable craft insurance plan has reopened for 26-27. This contains public and product liability insurance, which is essential for those seeking to further their craft by making products for customers, running market stalls, teaching or participating in exhibitions. Secondly, a spot has opened up in our Artist in Residence program. The 3-year program is designed for fine woodworkers looking to grow their practices. Resident artists receive subsidised rental rates, 24/7 access to a fully equipped and maintained machine room, dedicated personal workspace, and plenty of support from the VWA community. To find out more about the insurance or the resident artist spot, please head to vwa.org.au or follow the links in the podcast notes. To find my carving, sculpture and classes, you can follow me at wanda.gillespie or head to wandagillespie.com.
How's the teaching going, Bryan?
It's going pretty well. Yeah. It's reaffirmed to me that AI will never replace teachers, because 40% of your job is behavioral management. So that's reassuring. Yeah, it's some interest. I think I said before, like a lot of the way, not the curriculum's necessarily set up, but the teaching units are quite outdated in my view. Like there's lathe work and stuff like that. That students, I don't think it's safe for the students to be doing it, and I don't think they really learn that much from it. So, yeah, it's something that I'd be looking to potentially try to influence them to change. It's just how much footing I have as a first year teacher. The last few lessons have been teaching hand cutting dovetails, which has been very interesting.
Is there a lot of enthusiasm from the kids?
From some students, yeah, there really is. And they'll have a crack and it won't be perfect, so they'll try it again and try it again, and they get quicker. So with some students there is. It's just like with a student workshop, the chisels have been abused. So you don't have a sharp chisel to pare anything. They're doing it into pine, which
I was just going to ask.
If you're trying to cut like end grain into pine, saw moves everywhere. So yeah, it's very hard to judge what a successful dovetail is for a year 10 student. I'm kind of saying that
I can make a dovetail in pine.
It's hard. One of the students actually, he had 2 attempts at it, and his second attempt was about as good as I reckon I could have done. And that's pretty impressive for like a 15-year-old kid. But yeah, like they're using tenon saws that aren't sharp instead of dovetail saws. Like there's things about it that would make it so much easier. Just give them a whole load of offcuts of Vic Ash or something, something to make it just a little bit more straightforward. But yeah, they're cracking on with that. They've all had to go on the lathe, and then the next project is starting on Monday week, and it is designing a coffee table, which again, having looked at previous years, they follow a similar pattern. They've got big chunky rails on them, like proportionally, they're not great. So I'm just trying to get them to embrace a bit of contemporary design. So we'll see.
Do you have, from a design perspective, do you do they have certain specs that they have to follow, like having rails?
So they have to have rails that the top can be fixed onto. But I'm just trying to get them to, rather than all using the same dimensions of rails and the same size of tables, I'm saying, these are your maximum parameters. This is how much timber is available to you as an individual student. And again, it's pine. So, it's effectively, like, rather than saying to them, this is a finished bit of furniture, I would say, this is a prototype piece of furniture. Go and experiment with it. Go and try something. So yeah, it's interesting. Like in their previous woodworking classes, I don't think there was much exposure to contemporary design. So I'm trying to do like a fortnightly, it's called like a micro teach, like a 10-minute explicit teaching. So it's like, this is what this is, as opposed to go out and explore your ideas. So you get this 10-minute micro teach, and it will be explaining proportion, repetition, materiality, sustainability, and stuff like that is not part of the year 10 curriculum. But if they want to do product design as part of design technologies for VCE, they come into it with no understanding of what any of these terms mean. Whereas, you're now 16, you should, if you're interested in design, this is the level that I think you should be up to. So it's kind of hard trying to balance the curriculum requirements, their submission requirements, but also giving what I believe sets them up for the future.
Being a good teacher.
I know it's not absorbed by every student.
Stuff.
Yeah, I know it's not absorbed by every student, but I try to introduce them to an image of a contemporary, if it's a fine furniture maker, if it's a product designer, if it's a graphic design, something like that. I try to have one image in most of my classes, and I'll reference it and I'll have the name under it. Because again, students now, they'll just grab things off the internet, and then I'm like, whose piece is that? And they can't tell me. So trying to get them into the idea of referencing work. So, they're coming up with their design. They might have 5 different designers that they're interested in and say, I like this bit of this and this bit of this. and that's inspired by Robin Lewis, and that's Joey Chalk, and I'm going to design my table taking inspiration from them as opposed to going, this is my Joey Chalk piece that I'm just going to knock off.
That's really important. I think that's a super important perspective to. It's like we can all pick up our phone and Google a thing and just say, that thing. But taking that extra step to say, well, who made that initially? And did they get their inspiration for that from something else as well? And what are the actual origins of it? And it just, I feel like it creates such a more of an understanding of the whole industry when you can kind of trace an idea back to an original thought and then see its progression. And then as a student, you can decide if you want to add to the progression, right? But knowing what you're doing rather than just stealing a thing.
Yes, doing it in a transparent manner that respects the authorship and intellectual property and all that kind of stuff, which is part of the curriculum. So it's this is probably the most important part of understanding property rights, but I just don't think it's widely taught. Try not to be too critical because, like I said, I'm a first year teacher and I'm trying to work things out as I go. But when I'm bringing in my experience tutoring at university, teaching little classes of adult woodworkers, it's just something that I feel that is overlooked in education at the minute, and that's more important, way more important, learning that than learning how to use a lathe at 15. So that's kind of how it's been going. But it's cool. I'm going to be full-time in there for a month in October as part of my placement as well, so it'll be full on with study on top of that and parenting and
wait, sorry, stuff. So you've been doing it for a year in October? You've been teaching for a year in October?
No. So, sorry. I've been studying now for just over a year. I started at this school 5 weeks ago or something like that. It's a 3-day week contract, which is the maximum that I can get. But I have to do a 5-day a week placement for 4 consecutive weeks. There's really... people wonder why teachers are dropping out of the profession and why people aren't wanting to study it. The amount of weird little bits of red tape. I'm working in there 3 days a week, so I'll be well over the number of days that you need to do to complete your degree to get registration with the teaching board. But they're saying, no, it's got to be 5 consecutive days over 4 weeks rather than 3 days a week over however many.
Whatever.
So, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Hey, Bryan, are there coping saws available in your class?
There's coping saws. There's chisels.
Have you showed them coping saw method to try and cut dovetails on the pine? Yeah.
Yep.
It's not. I know it's not. So it's certainly not easy. There's no easy way, but I mean, in pine, perhaps sawing it is easier. I don't know.
It's the hardest bit is, you're always trying to tell them you can't add material on, so cut well inside your waistlines. But then you don't have chisels sharp enough to actually pair it and get it fitting. Yeah. So, like I said, I'm sort of seeing success is if you hold the 2 pieces up and they interlock and one doesn't drop out of the other. That's fine for me.
It's not a finger joint, then it's good. Yeah,
it's not. A lot of them are cutting finger joints, or compound dovetails where they're cutting the angles into both of them, and I'm going, how do you put this together? So anyway, but
it's such a strong joint it can't even go together itself.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I think it's quite a hard task to ask of them, regardless of the tools that they have access to. I don't know. Have you ever cut a hand cut dovetail, Robin?
I did it a couple times many years ago, and then never needed it again.
Then I don't need to do that again.
Matt Esley.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, I should show them I should show them Matt Esley's world record dovetail. What did he cut that?
Yeah, that's a good
2 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was something like that.
It's the benchmark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made
Sorry,
a
Joe.
few chests. I made a few chests of drawers all by hand when I was young and stupid. And now looking back at it, well, they were good. But after playing around with the Panto router recently to get these drawers for this kitchen done, well, it's a massive headache to set up the Panto router to work. It's so fast once you have it set up. I did 6 drawers in an afternoon, so it's like, and they're perfect. So
I wanted
That
to bring
kitchen's
that up.
looking great, Joey.
Yeah.
yeah, well, that's the weirdest part of the kitchen too. Like that, I just kind of got the weird part out of the way, and then now the cool stuff happens. So yeah.
Can I play the arsehole for a second?
Sure.
Oh, you are the best at playing arsehole, Robin. Come on, bring it.
My initial thoughts on that kitchen, the drawers, is they look fantastic, but there's this wide gap. So you are losing any sense of like here in Queensland, cockroaches are a pain in the ass. You do everything you can to try and keep them out. You've got this gigantic gap between the drawers. Dust, that's just going to get through that gap. Clients happy with that?
That's what they want.
Yeah, okay. Because and again, going back to traditional, the way you would build drawers and then put the face frame. So for everyone listening who's not sure what we're talking about, you got to go check out Joey's Instagram. Was it a story or a post?
It's a reel, I think.
A reel.
So it should be on there. Yeah.
Yeah. The kitchen drawers look like kitchen drawers before they have the face frame put on. And because of that gap, it looks like you're then going to put if it was all the way to the, if there was no gap, it would look more intentional.
Yeah.
But because of that gap, it looks like the face frame is still coming onto it.
I hear you. I mean,
and I'm not, this is nothing against you because this is the client's design. I'm not giving you grief, but
I get it.
It's strange.
But it's, the idea of like gaps between drawers is not new. Like people have done it. And like, obviously you don't do that where there are, say, bug problems, or if you really are anal about dust getting into the drawers. Or me personally, I don't like the gap between drawers because you can see stuff, and that takes away from what you're trying to show is the nice timber work. Like often people have like their plastic Tupperware containers lined up and they've got different colored lids and stuff, and that's what you see when you look. You see the orange and the blue and the thing and the packet inside, and that is a bit distracting for me. I find that a bit annoying. But the actual drawer setup like that, I think it makes way more sense when you look at the island when that eventually happens. It's very open and like just open. And so they have these, I think of them more as drawers that as shelves that slide out rather than drawers.
Yeah,
because it's more of that's the feel. Funnily enough, if you want something to complain about with this kitchen, you wait until I just saw the paint color the other day. So
what's it going to be? What's it going to be?
There's 3 elements to this kitchen. There's the main island, which is the showpiece. The part I just made, which is kind of the utility fridge, dishwasher stuff. It's kind of tucked to one side. And then behind the island, there's this pretty cool looking cabinet with storage and ovens in it. But it's like the color is called licorice. It's like dark purple, blue, midnight blue, something. So that's going to be a make or break moment for most people. So it'd be interesting. I didn't realize that. I thought it was going to be a gray, and now because his ovens are gray. And so now we're going to have grey ovens with purple cabinets. So I'm not sure.
Hey, you got to give the client props.
Yeah.
Kudos for having the nuts to go all out.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of this,
I would say, Robin, that I do agree with you on the gap between the drawers. To me, it should either be less or it should be more. Like it feels like it's an in between. Like if they are kind of if they are sort of just slide out shelves as you describe them, I'd nearly want to see more, but you're really careful about then what you put in there. You know, it's got to be pots or plates arranged in a certain way. Or you find some way to get them really, really tight, you know, and you just have that little 3 mil gap and have an external handle on it.
Yeah, interesting, because they could have been made like that where they were tight with, like, say, 5 mil between them, maybe, because
I suppose to stop the flex of the depending.
Well, I'm just wondering, because of the way they sit on those runners on the sides where the drawer meets the cabinet, there's about 8 mil or something. And so if you had, say, 8 mil gaps between the drawers, it would kind of frame them all up and they would look fairly even, right? But then you've got to put an extra handle on it. And, well, I mean, the client could have chosen to do that, I suppose. But it just hasn't. I mean, it doesn't even cross my mind, to be honest. I just saw his drawing. Like, this is a client who gave me, like, this PowerPoint presentation of everything, how they wanted it. And I was just like, draw it. Perfect. There you go. Kind. That's what you want. And so it's one of those jobs where I don't even consider sometimes what I'm actually making, because you've told me everything. So here you go. But maybe
fair.
But you guys are probably right. And I probably should have sat and thought about it and said, hey, maybe it's better if we do it like this. But
if he has given you that spec and he said, you know, there must be a 30 mil gap or whatever, he's obviously thought, I don't want handles in it. I just want to be able to stick my hand into the top of the drawer. So
yeah, exactly.
Like you said, you're basically acting as a manufacturer rather than as a consultant or bringing your expertise to it. So it's a very different job. So
yeah. The only thing I really put my thought into, because he wanted a crown mold scotia around parts of this thing, and I don't think it was on that post that was there, but I designed like this random kind of 30s inspired ish scotia thing that I've made, and that's about the only input I had on the whole design of it. So
can't wait to see this finished kitchen. The way you're describing it, so many elements, many elements.
And it also, one strange thing for me, I've only done one of these once before, is and the island has got the cooktop in it, and he's bought this kind of module style cooktop where you then add a downdraft exhaust fan between the cooktop modules. So I've got to make room through the island to have all the ducting and everything so it can suck down and go through the floor. So it's just a bit of a pain in the ass. I've got all this appliances here, and I've had all the boxes laid out and opened everything and kind of put it together and measured exactly how everything fits together, and then made my model around that. So it's
I don't think those downdraft extractors are. I remember there was a phase where everyone used them, and then they just went away.
They're not good, but they're good at ticking the box for the council inspector at the end of your job.
I've never actually seen one in action. I've never seen one.
To have actual adequate suction, it's got to be like a jet engine, and they're never that powerful. They're pretty good, but they're not stupendous. And this may be a frying pan where it's low to the cooktop, but unless the extractor pops up to the top of like a pot height, it's not sucking anything. I don't think. So yeah. Anyway, fun times.
I'm excited to see this.
Yeah, I was really shocked when I saw the paint, because when it got delivered to me, it had leaked a little bit around the edge, and I was like, "Oh, what's happened there?" And then I looked at
the wrong paint.
Yeah, I looked at the color, and I was like, "Oh my God, is this okay? This is going to be fun to." I've got to spray it as well, so it's going to be interesting. Yeah.
All right, let's leave it there. We're at time.
Cool.
Thanks again to all the people donating to the show. There is a donation link somewhere in the episode notes. So if you want to help support the show, it's there. And cool. We will see you guys.
And thanks to the VWA for their support and for Dave for coming on the show. It's brilliant.
Yeah, big thank you to,
really cool.
to them. Yeah, cool. All right, guys. See you again in a couple of weeks.
All right. Bye.
Awesome. Have a good one.
See ya.